Overwatch 2 retail patch notes from March 12, 2024, the mid-season 9. We're halfway through, little under 30 days left in the season. So, first thing when you guys log in here is you celebrate the crew of the Bebop in Overwatch 2. Immerse yourself in the iconic saga of Cowboy Bebop with an array of new skins found exclusively in the Overwatch 2 shop. From now until March 25th, you can also tackle in-game challenges to answer the call of the bounty hunter and snatch up cosmetic rewards. The REIN Wrecking Ball skin is free to earn as long as you play the game. Here's another article they released today about the Cowboy Bebop collab. I'll quickly scan over. If you've literally been living under a rock, we have Cassidy as Spike, Mauga as Jet, Sombra as Ed, Ash as Faye, and where's the Wrecking Ball one? There's Wrecking Ball as REIN. The corgi turned into a hamster. Okay, apparently they left the freaking hamster out in the fucking picture here. But yeah, his hair. Everyone's making fun of his hair. Anybody who does 3D or art rendering and models will probably understand that 3D modeling hair like this is probably a nightmare. That's what I hear, at least. Okay, so that's the Cowboy Bebop collab. By the way, if you're watching this on YouTube, come to my stream right now at twitch.tv/KarQ. I'll be on literally like 12 hours a day for the next week. You can earn the Reaper skin by watching my stream for 9 hours on one of the eligible streams. And I do have Cowboy Bebop codes to give away. Blizzard does give codes to content creators to give away to their community. A lot of them run their giveaways on Twitter. I run mine on Twitch. Just have to tune in and figure out when I decide to do that. I don't have the codes yet. They haven't given it to me yet. So stay tuned. General update, we have the Hero Mastery Gauntlet. So this was already announced at BlizzCon. It's a 3-person co-op mode, tower defense. It's got the aesthetic of the Hero Mastery where it's very like polygon, blue and gray. Protect towers from enemy bots, collect energy, buy upgrades, and survive 10 rounds. 3 players, 10 rounds. Each game randomizes upgrades, bots, and targeted towers to keep things fresh. The Gauntlet has 4 difficulties that vary all aspects of gameplay, including score, work your way up to legendary, dominate the leaderboards. Athena has upgraded the simulation with many bots for this mode. Be on the lookout for dangerous elite training bots. Play in AI for teams or practice with 1 to 3. Scores and challenges are not recorded. It's launching with an LTM, a limited time event that includes exclusive rewards and challenges. Can you defend the towers and unlock them all? I'll have to log in after and see what the rewards are. Next, competitive play updates. The placements in overview will now be displayed before hero progression at the end of a competitive match. Thank you. The rank range is now added to the scoreboard at any time of the match. Thank you. Modifiers can now be viewed outside of the competitive overview with the rank info button found in the competitive play menu. Thank you. Do you know how many people come into the stream go like, yo, KarQ, what does reversal mean? What does volatile mean? How am I volatile? They have the info screen here so you can read what each modifier means. They have a new modifier called Demotion Protection, which is added to the competitive overview to notify players that if they lose another game, they will be demoted to the next lowest division. People didn't understand the rank protection system. This is already here, but now they just tell you what it is. If you are like, 10% in Diamond 3, and you lose a game, you go to 0%. You don't actually lose below 10%, but you're actually technically demoted already, but they have a demotion protection. And now it'll tell you if you lose again, you will go to the next rank and it'll probably shoot you down to like 70 or 65%. When anybody loses like 38 or 40%, they're like, how? No way, how did I lose 40%? Well, that's because they were under the rank protection, then demotion protection. So the previous loss, they conveniently forgot they only lost 5%. Then the next one is basically stacking it on, especially if you lose 2 in a row. You lost 5% in the previous one plus 35% in the next one. So you lost 40%, which is the same because you lose 20% on average, and you're down to 65% on the second of the tier below. Just so you don't freak out. Oh my god, the menu music. Yes, by the way, if you log into Overwatch, Cowboy Bebop's theme will play. I have to mute it because I don't want to get DMCA'd. The dev updates. The devs just want to say this patch is focused on some of the fine-tuning of the systemic hero changes made in Season 9. In addition, we're adjusting individual abilities to make them feel more impactful due to heroes having larger health pools. Oh, they did it. Oh, there's a bug with the progression screen. Okay, there was one. Anyways, so there's a global nerf to all the projectiles where travel time projectiles with a speed greater than 50 meters per second is reduced from 0.1 to 0.075 meters. A 25% nerf in the size of projectiles speeds greater than 50 meters per second. What projectiles are greater than 50 meters per second? Let's think here. Things like Orissa's primary fire, Kiriko's kunais are probably nerfed, Pharah's rockets, Junkrat's nades, Symmetra's secondary fire, Torbjorn's primary fire. So these are a big global nerf to some of these. Hanzo, yes, but then Hanzo actually gets it reversed here to not nerf him further, but we'll talk about that in a moment. But There's a global rule applied, so anybody who falls under that threshold. I think the rockets have an increased speed. I think rockets speed got buffed this patch, so it's in season 9 that it's over 50 meters per second. I might be wrong the fair one. We have to check the Wikipedia. The next thing they're changing is the DPS passive. The heal reduction is applied by the damage roll passive, lowered from 20% to 15%. So a pretty hefty nerf to the DPS passive. A 25% relative nerf. 5% objective nerf because 20 to 15, but like when you compare it, the relative change is 25%, if my math is correct. And finally, UI elements. There's now a UI element above your own first-person health bar to show the healing status effects, whether you're antied, amped healing, and reduced healing from the DPS passive. So now there's an indicator for it. Thank you. But it's only for yourself. I don't know. I'll have to see it in the game right now. If I'm healing somebody, do I see an icon over their health bar? Probably not. But they can maybe call, hey, I'm being reduced right now. Everybody was asking for it, so now it actually came. The juice of the patch, Doomfist. The outer ring minimum damage is going to be increased from 15 to 50. So if you tag somebody at the end of it, you will do a lot more damage because it scales linearly inside. This is the absolute minimum, 50. When you get a little bit closer in the ring, that means linearly it will scale a little harder as well. So that's actually a pretty big buff to the ultimate. Okay, Mauga. Buffs. Overrun stomp damage is going to be increased from 45 to 60. One thing you have to remember with Overrun, the stomp does double damage if you land on their head. So the stomp damage AoE, if you don't land on their head, is 45. If you ever critted or landed on a person, like you stepped on their face, it goes to 90. That means if you step on their face, it goes to 120 now. That's a pretty big buff. Yes, it can headshot. This is a critical hit if you land on them. The next, cardiac arrest. The duration is reduced from 5 to 4 seconds. That's a nerf to its actual duration when it's active, but the cooldown itself is shorter. So the relative uptime should be a little bit better as long as you're pressing it every time off cooldown, but you're not, so it actually might be sort of a net nerf. So the Doom ult does self-healing to almost full HP, gives him a refunded super punch, slows you heavily, and you take 50 damage for dodging the center of the ult. Bro, this ult's ridiculous. I would say Doomfist's ultimate is actually like not bad at all. B tier, but every Doom player will tell you it's like one of the worst ults in the game. I tend to disagree because I'm the victim of the Doom, but every Doom player likes to believe their hero is terrible. You know, some of the bug fixes definitely warranted, but they really believe that this hero's bad and this ultimate's bad. And they are always arguing with me saying that the heal is useless. So I'm like, dude, it's not useless. You're literally getting free healing. Yes, a lot of times there will be action times where you don't heal anything back because you have to go up and drop down immediately. But every time you quick press it and press it again, you still get a little health back. And you get over health when you land on someone. And now it does damage and it slows you. I feel like this ultimate's is not bad at all. Not the best, but it's certainly not F tier like they all like to perceive. Anyways, and Doom is the #1 dive tank right now. So there you go, Doom mains. Terra Surge, this random Marissa buff here. Charge rate for the first 2.5 seconds is going to be increased by 25%. So the wind up or the charge up will be stronger. That means a random Marissa buff here, but she is technically nerfed because of the global size reduction for her primary fire. It won't land as easily. A random compensation buff for her. Ramatra, another buff here. Total damage increased from 45 to 70. That's actually pretty good big, by the way. That is a very hefty buff for Ravenous Vortex. Basically, if you get caught in it, you basically get pulled down and it takes a while to walk out of it. You will take decent damage from this. I feel like this ultimate is good. Sorry, not ultimate. This ability is very good right now. And the cooldown is going to be reduced by 1 second. I don't know if it's just me, but it feels like this Ravenous Vortex got way better in the recent patches. Probably because it passes through enemies and it actually lands now. Reinhardt buffs coming in. 25 extra armor. If I'm not mistaken, this puts him at 700 HP now. And his fire strike damage, this was needed, goes from 100 to 120. Probably because his swing already does 100 on this patch. It went from, 85 to 100, and it was weird that the Fire Strike was doing the same as a swing. So now this is 120. So a couple of REIN buffs here. All right. Necessary, though. Challenger, thank you for the 1 year. I appreciate it. Roadhog buffs. The enemy final position distance from Roadhog after being pulled is decreased from 4 to 3 meters. So that means they're going to be closer after you hook them. A closer distance means your pellets will land a little bit more consistently, so this is a big buff. And the vertical knockback on activation is decreased by 43%. This is also a buff, believe it or not. Even though the knockback is nerfed, this is a buff. Because if you ever try throwing your pig pen or your trap on a stationary target, do you see how high they bounce? They go like pew. But a lot of times you have the pig pen for the extra damage and less for the knock up. So they're saying that sometimes when you hook somebody and you pull them onto your pick pen and you try to do a follow-up shot, they'll just bounce in the air and then you end up shooting under their legs and their crotch by accident because they flew up in the air. So now they're basically reducing that little, it still has a little bit of vertical vector CC, but it's not as egregious. So they aren't launched as high when pick pen activates, making the scrap gun follow-up shot more consistent. So 2 buffs. Hanzo. This looks like a buff because the base projectile size is being increased from 0.075. The total projectile size when combined with the general hero change is still 0.175. Basically, they're reverting the previous change to Hanzo's arrows and replacing it with the general global reduction. Blah, blah, blah. It results in his arrow projectile staying the same size as before this patch. Because remember, this is just to compensate for the global nerf to projectile sizes. Hanzo's falls under this global rule, so they're like reversing the rule. He's the only individual case. It seems like anybody else is still affected. So basically Hanzo is unchanged from before. May buffs, Jesus Christ. Endothermic Blaster. Ammo increased from 120 to 140. And the heal when you go into Ice Block is going to be increased from 50 to 62.5 per second. Reaper buffs as well. It makes his ultimate a little bit better. I will say Reaper's ultimate in the evolution of the game over the last 8 years, he's basically been the same hero, I would argue one-dimensional, and his ultimate was so cool in 2016 when he just die, and everyone just falls over. But like, so many people can recognize when the ult is coming and just CC and stop it now and block it. Everybody's aware, hyper aware. It's no longer a respawn button when you press Death Blossom, and now does a little bit more damage, 170 to 185, and the cost will be decreased by 12%. Sombra buffs as well. The virus impact damage is going to be increased from 10 to 25. One thing that's important with impact damage of virus, chat, is impact damage is doubled when you hack them. So that means the impact used to be 20 if you pre-hack and virus. Now it's going to be 50 on the impact plus the damage over time, which is quite significant. It's encouraging you to pre-hack them a little bit more, which also means more self-heal during all. Oh yes, if we backtrack here, this is a 2-part buff because the damage per second increasing with Death Blossom does mean he lifesteals a little bit more. You can headshot too. So the headshot Blue Monday is you don't actually have to headshot with the virus. It looks like a headshot modifier, but that's because if you hack them first and then throw the virus, it is critical, so it looks like a critical headshot on the kill feed, but it's not truly a headshot. Anyways, 50, it would be 50 if you hack them, plus, what is it, damage over time, like 180, so it will be quite beefy. Translocator will now destroy breakables while in flight. Basically, you guys ever played like Rialto First Point or, you know, Hollywood First Point, all the railings? These are breakables. That's what they mean by this. So sometimes as a translocator, if nobody destroyed the railings and you throw it accidentally at the railing, it'll collide with the fence or railing. And then you would not like make it to high ground because it would just stop there. But now it like pierces the railings, which is a nice quality of life change. This is something that probably Sombra players like, dude, I can't believe my translocator got stuck here. This is not a pedal platform. No. This is like in-game terrain. Imagine if Translocator just broke a 1000 HP pedal platform. Ain't no way. This is very good quality of life change for Sombras though, for the railings, on some maps. The last part, EMP cost reduced by 8%, so quite hefty Sombra changes here. Okay, Symmetra, the photon projector. The primary fire damage per second is gonna be increased from 60 to 65, which scales with each stage. The new maximum damage per second is 195. The damage needed to be buffed here because all the heroes in the game got an HP buff, right, in Season 9, and Symmetra's kind of fell behind because it takes a long time to scale up. Right now, for those who don't play a lick of Symmetra, if she holds the beam on you, every second, the damage ramps up and doubles, or adds one iteration of the base, so it goes from 60 to 120 after the next second, then it goes to 180. Now it goes from 65 to 130 to 195 on stage 3. Zarya is the same as max charge Zarya now. That's right. Zarya got buffed in the hotfix patch to go 195, I believe, or 190. Closer, actually a little bit better now. Her sentry turret health is going to be increased from 30 to 50, and the damage per second is going to be increased from 25 to 30. This is nice. This is big. Well, good for sim players, annoying for the rest of the cast. This is significant for melees. If a random Symmetra threw a sentry beside me, previously I would just turn around and melee it to break it. But now a melee doesn't break it anymore. Melee is 40 damage in the game in this new patch, right? So that's pretty good for Sentry to have a little bit more uptime for the meleeers. The teleporter is getting 100 extra health because the white health is going up from 50 to 100, and the shield health is going from 150 to 200. So it's 100 extra thing. Yeah, this will be annoying for diva players who like, oh, there's a sentry turret, let me go melee it. So you actually, I think if you're a diva though, and you fly into it, it does booster damage, right? So you have to booster and melee, probably. And you melee them as Mercy? Exactly, see? So this is a interesting buff for the sentry turret. I would say this is bigger than the damage per second, but you know, when you have 3 turrets zapping at 90 damage per second versus 75, that's also quite significant. Torbjorn, the 6th player on the team, 6v5 turret damage is going to be increased from 11 to 13. I was surprised they're buffing Torb here, to be honest with you. I think Torb's already fine on his own. This just makes him more annoying. Why do they make him more annoying for like lower ranks? Like Torb turret is just more of a nuisance in the high ranks. Most people do destroy it, but like Torb is just so deadly in like bronze. Supports, so the Ana buffs here. This is a big one. Explosion damage and the healing portion is going to be increased from 60 to 90 for the biotic grenade. This is a very, very important for the Tracer matchup. Tracer is very, very good this patch, S tier hero, and made it a nightmare if you try to play Ana in this patch because a good Tracer would just eat your brains out and just blast you. And even if you hit even if you hit the crazy skill shot in the skill matchup of hitting a sleep dart in the old patch, you would not do enough damage to shot, nade, melee, kill her before she presses recall. So let's be real here. It's way easier for a Tracer to kill an Ana than it is for an Ana to hit a sleep dart on a good Tracer. So even if you hit the sleep before, you were never rewarded with anything, even if you had all your cooldowns, which is so annoying. And it made it terrible for that matchup. But now with the nade buff going to 90, it gives you enough time for the primary fire shot. You know how when you shoot as Ana, the damage is like, it's like incremental. So now there should be enough for the incremental damage plus 90 plus a 40 damage melee to kill her before she recalls. So it's a skill check for the Tracer now. Brig repair pack cooldown is going to be reduced from 6 to 5 seconds. That's good. That's actually a very good buff. This is very crazy because you can hold up to 3 packs. Instead of 18 seconds to refill, it's 15. That's quite big. There's also a Baptiste change here that didn't make it into the notes. Wow, you're right. So Baptiste actually has a nerf chat where the immortality field threshold goes from 25% to 20%. That's just not in the notes, but trust me, it's in the game. Don't ask me how I know, I just know. Illari, is getting a couple, oh sorry, the rally for Brig is also getting a cost reduction. What nerf? Okay, one more time. Baptiste didn't make it in the patch, but somehow I know that Baptiste immortality field minimum health threshold is being nerfed from 25% to 20%. So if I have 200 HP and I'm 10 HP left and 200 HP and I threw an immortality field down, I would get my HP bumped back up to 25 because that's 25% of, or sorry, it would be bumped up to 50, excuse me, on a 200 HP hero. I'm just doing 200 HP for easy math. Anyways, just believe me, the BAP nerf is in the game. Illari buffs coming in. The primary fire recovery time being reduced from 0.3 to 0.2 seconds. On paper, this doesn't look like much, but trust me, this recovery time is a buff. Basically means the time between shots, the recovery time before you're able to like shoot again this is a 33% buff. It feels way quicker. This doesn't do it justice till you see it in game. Not like you'll spam it at low charge, but it's something to consider. If you do a really strong charge shot and you need a quick shot to finish them off, it will be a little bit faster. A maximum charge time, so the bar that fills up to do the full threshold damage will be decreased from 0.7 to 0.65 seconds. So you get full damage a little bit quicker as well. Anybody who does music will tell you this, like the BPM, it goes crazy. 3 seconds versus 5 seconds. Is that what the math works out to? I believe you. And finally, Lifeweaver is the last change here. Maximum heal time will be increased from 70 to 80, but the maximum charge time will be increased from 1 to 1.15 seconds. This is a nerf. The raw healing amount is a buff. Let's read the dev comments because they sort of explain why. The burst potential of the heal blossom will be increased to reinforce Lifeweaver's role, but the heal per second is roughly the same as before, but the individual blossoms can be charged further. Basically, if you pre-charge an 80 and there's no action happening, then you chuck the 80 heal and you wind up a second one, that healing will be objectively higher, but on average, because it takes a bit longer to wind up, if you're like spam healing in a fight, it should feel the same as before with the scaling of healing and the time to charge. It's just if you pre-charge a full heal when there's no action happening, that's when it will feel a little bit better. It's still a net buff overall. Couple of bug fixes here. Nothing too crazy to mention. Let's see. Mystery heroes, blah, blah, blah. Leaves now count as a loss during your placement. Fixed a bug that gave Echo full ultimate charge after restarting a run. Oh, that's the hero mastery. Junkertown had lighting issues. There's some glitchable spots on King's Row. Samoa had a secret torb spot that was hidden in the environment. I'm not going to tell you where because I don't actually know where it is. Doesn't matter. It's not in the game. And fixed a bug that caused the DPS passive to not be applied by Symmetra, Torb Turrets, Riptire, and Bob. Wow, forgot about Riptire, but yes. The DPS passive, in theory, was supposed to apply with all these projectiles. I did it in the Mythbuster. It was applying in our video, the Symmetra Turrets, Torb Turrets, and Bob, and apparently Riptire. But apparently there's probably some buggy edge cases that caused it to not apply. They smoothed it out, and it should work now. Ash's Dynamite should also work too, by the way. And then for Lifeweaver, fixed an interaction with Tree of Life and Malgo that could launch the cage fight to the sky. I think I saw a video on this before. And they fixed an instance that allowed Life Grip to pull allies to their death. That is it for the mid-season patch notes. That's my Yap Sesh. Watch the main channel video to see them visualized, but that's just the talking version of the patch for the audio listeners on, you know, coming home from work or going to work.